Hi everyone. I'm doing a segment about when Ted Nugent was on Joe Rogan, and he mentions this clear statement that says, "If you want to kill more animals, be a vegan." And I'm here to debunk that. So I'm going to show you the video of the segment of what he said, and then I'll counteract it.
If you really want to kill the most things, be a vegan, because the farmers who protect your beans kill everything. I kill one animal per arrow. In order to grow tofu, you have to kill every ground squirrel, every vole, every shrew, every snake, every turtle, every frog, every bird, every rabbit. Anything that gets in that bean field, I'm either going to plow and dismember, which is why the crows and the seagulls follow the combines every year. And then if anything does survive my first slaughter, I'm going to come in with Monsanto and poison the shit out of everything so you can have a tofu salad and not be responsible for any death. Fuck you.
That's a really good point, and it's a point that a lot of people ignore.
And avoid because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Isn't life full of uncomforting things? And you shouldn't be uncomfortable. To kill game, to feed mankind is perfect. To kill cows and pigs to feed mankind.
So now that you heard what Ted had to say, this is what I have to say. Uncle Ted, you are correct that vegans participate in practices of harming other animals. You are correct. However, you only gave a small part of the portion of the story of agriculture. You see, there are 7 billion livestock animals. This study is from years back, so it might be more, it might be less. And they consume 5 times the amount of grain we do. So what is animal feed? Soy, wheat, corn, and rice are the main 4 heavily subsidized products. They consume 60 to 70%, give or take, of all crops grown in the United States is fed to livestock. With that being said, 41 million tons of plant protein has to be produced to feed livestock just to get 7 million tons of animal protein. So think about that. Again, this is studies from some years back, so it could have changed. So what do you think they eat? I mean, what do you think an 800-pound pig eats? Now, most pigs and cows, about 90% of all pigs and cows that are eaten by Americans, which is 360 million people, because vegans only account, and we're also not just the meat, but dairy and eggs. Vegans are less than 1% of the population. So 90%, maybe more, of all animal products are factory farmed, which is fed grains, and we grow crops specifically for them, especially soy, corn, wheat, and rice. So when he's making fun of tofu and how the soy is grown so vegans can have tofu. No, it's not. It's subsidized because it's to feed livestock. We don't have vegan lobbyists. I mean, I'm sure maybe in the future we will. I mean, but you don't see broccoli lobbyists out there, do you? No, you see animal lobbyists, and then you see animal feed lobbyists. That's why, I mean, soy and corn is in everything. Everything from vegetable oil is mainly made from soy. A lot of it's got some mixtures of other oils, which also comes from plants, but like that's in there too. You ever look at your dog food? That's got soy and corn and rice in them. A lot of them do. How about feeding horses? We also are feeding horses. What do you think they eat? And cows? How much do you think a cow eats? If that cow is not grass-fed, it's eating a lot of grain. A lot of grain. So much grain. So here's the other counter to this. So if vegans are the ones causing all the harm, and the meat eaters are not as much, are you suggesting that the only thing you eat is meat? You don't eat a burger with a bun on it? That's wheat. It's wheat right there. Or some other kind of grain that was made into bread. You never cook anything in vegetable oil? You never use that, ever? Do you not season your meat with pepper, garlic, onion, like chili peppers? You don't eat peppers, mushrooms, vegetables or fruits. You don't eat apples, tomatoes, celery, carrots. Are you suggesting that you probably eat potatoes? You seem like a meat and potatoes guy. All of that food, like you're eating the same thing. You're doing the same thing, but you're doing it times 10. Times 10. And if you wanted, the definition of vegan is an individual who does not consume or use animal products. It doesn't say a person who never participates in any activity whatsoever that harms an animal. I mean, you drive down the street, you're hurting animals. You can't, you're heating your house somewhere there's animals being hurt. Like, basically the biggest statement, and again, I'm not trying to convince any of you to become vegan here. I'm telling you the hardcore facts of agriculture and human practices, especially in a modern, high, fast-paced technology society, that we all participate in harming animals. But the main statement of veganism, and I'm not going into PETA and all that stuff, I'm just straight up veganism. The main part of veganism is do as little harm as humanly possible. Because vegans know that some things that they participate in, like going to work using a car, heating their house, growing their food, like even getting water ran into your house, buying their products at a grocery store or from a farmer directly. They know that there's some form of harm that happens with this practice, but it's less. But what Ted's trying to suggest is basically vegans do more, and that's where he's completely wrong. And the reason why I'm doing this video was mainly because some respectable friends of mine, we've had discussions about this because they, either they posted on their wall or tagged me, whatever, and no disrespect to them. I mean, when you're listening to this, it sounds, wow, that's a good point. It is a good point, Ted, but you forgot the rest of the part. You forgot the rest of the industry. That's like saying you're going to a restaurant and just saying, oh, well, I ordered the mushroom burger with no animal products on it, so this restaurant is not doing any harm because I ordered that specific item. But meanwhile, they're cooking steaks and all this stuff. Like, okay, let me ask you this. Think about this for a minute. Okay, so if a vegan walks into Walmart, okay, and he or she buys just plants, but Walmart supports animal agriculture. They just have a variety of products. Is that person now not a vegan because he participated and gave money to a company that participates in the harm of animals? Does that make him not a vegan? Does that make him a hypocrite? Because that's what Ted's trying to do. Ted is trying to make vegans into hypocrites. That's basically what he's doing. I mean, before this video, like as he started, he said if that's what you want to do, that's fine. He's not against people actually wanting to be vegan, but he's trying to justify that. He's trying to put hypocrisy into their belief system, and but his philosophy is completely wrong. Completely wrong. He's just trying to justify it because vegans tend to hate him because he goes out and hunts all these animals for fun. On Ted's defense, he does use almost everything that he kills, whether it's and he donates a lot of that to a lot of good causes, and great. You know, I mean, if you're going to be that guy, at least you're doing something with it. You know, you're not just going out there and just shooting it and walking away. But I'm sure there is animals that he does that we don't even know about. But that doesn't even matter. This isn't even an anti-hunting post. What I'm just trying to suggest to you is, unless, according to Ted's logic, the only way a vegan could participate in more harm than the average omnivore in America is if you only ate meat, only hunted your meat, or raised your own meat and grass-fed, and everything was grass-fed, and raised your own meat, because there's also pest control, like, you know, protecting, because honestly, according to agriculture, a cow and your cow field, where your cows, your herd of cows, is no different than your field of broccoli or your fields of soybeans. It's the same thing. Farmers are always protecting it. There is a little more detailed, but again, you have to take the plants and feed it to the animals. I mean, cows don't eat meat, and although they do add that into their feed, the waste feed, which goes right back into you, but all I'm saying, Ted, is you're wrong. It makes no sense. I mean, it's pure logic to understand how much food livestock requires for us to even be able to have animal protein to eat. Not, on top of the fact that unless that's all you're eating is just meat, all the other vegetables and plants and all those other things you're consuming too. So you're literally consuming 10 times more to the problem than any vegan, and that's what I have to say. So I forgot to add a clip, so I'm going to add another clip. This is actually very important, and I forgot to mention this because I got all wrapped up with everything else. But, you know, seriously, Ted, if you want to get closer to the truth about agriculture in general, instead of mentioning one little tiny little piece, maybe you should follow the money trail, see where the money takes you. There's 360 million people in this country, on an estimate. Only 1.6 to 3.6 million people, 1 to 3%, consider themselves vegan. Do you think, since you mentioned Monsanto and how to have our tofu, so the vegans can have their tofu, do you think that they're going to spend billions of dollars to grow products like corn and soy and all that just to satisfy 1 to 3% of the population? No, there's no money there. There's no money in vegans. Vegans don't make these people money. Why would they care what vegans eat? They don't care what vegans eat. And if we're eating their soy, they're happy, but it's barely putting a dent in their profits. Because again, 60 to 70% of all of our subsidized products, actually all crops in general, goes to feeding livestock. So it takes 19.5 times to feed livestock than people in the United States. And all you're saying to me is vegans are to blame? Because you said this food system was pretty good, not perfect, but pretty good. So you do what vegans do, plus add to the animal agriculture, so we can kill cows and chickens, pigs and such. But I know you don't really do a lot of research. I mean, you are that guy that will find something that you emotionally get stimulated by, and you'll go on to your little internet and you'll Google. You'll go on a couple Google articles, and then you'll use whatever information that satisfies your belief system on that topic and run with it. You're that guy. The first Google site that satisfies your opinion. It's not really very intellectual now, is it, Ted? I mean, you always like to cry about fake news. But you just did it. You just delivered it. You literally delivered it. This is what propaganda is. You took, well, propaganda technically is just, you're just selling an opinion to others. And you did it perfectly. You executed it well. But the reason why you can execute it well is because you are a rich celebrity, rock star, that happens to be on the conservative side, because you're still trapped in that red versus blue craziness, which also kind of makes me not think you're really that intelligent enough to make rational decisions, because you keep voting for the same people over and over and over again, and it's called insanity, because you're expecting different results. But everybody knows you're insane anyway, so I guess it just fits your cartel. But you love to talk about fake news, but you deliver yourself. I mean, liberals have fake news. Yeah, you're right. But so do you. You personally have fake news. So does conservatives. It's all fake news. News isn't about whether or not it's facts or truth. News is about how you're selling it and who you're selling it to. That's how propaganda works. And that's why you just executed it well, because not only are you a very influential person because of your rock star status, you went on a very intellectual podcast called The Joe Rogan Experience, which is an awesome podcast, by the way. I don't agree with every single guest he has, and I don't agree with everything Joe says, but I love how he executes it. I love his devil advocate. And even people that I 100% support that's on his show, I love his devil's advocate because he picks their brain. And the fact that you actually had Joe say, hey, that's a good point. I was kind of shocked by that because Joe didn't come back with what I was thinking. But maybe Joe didn't know. I don't know everything. All I know is I know agriculture a lot better than you, Ted. And I'll tell you right now, like I said in the last clip, are you telling me you don't eat any of these products? And if you don't, I mean, not everybody is a rich rock star with 500 plus acres of land or whatever you own that can go out and hunt every day when you feel like it and overstock his freezers and donate all this meat that you hunt because you just want to kill something. Not all of us can afford that, Ted. So what is the rest of the world supposed to do? Or what is the rest of the country supposed to do? I mean, we have to do the work grind, whatever. The 8 to 5, and then go to the second job. We got kids, and they got activities, or, we're raising dogs, or, we're having fun. We don't have time or the money to live your lifestyle. So what are they supposed to do? No, they're stuck with food that are heavily subsidized by the government. And those foods are soy, corn, wheat, rice, oats, basically grains, because they're cheap to grow, and they feed 60 to 70% of animal livestock, which was what majority of, which is more than 355 million people want. They want their burgers, and they want their cheese, and they want their steaks and chicken wings and things like that. But also you have to realize that these products you speak of, that's heavily sprayed by Monsanto and everything, they fill your cheap cheeses, they fill your cheap meats. They fill junk food. They're in your candy. They're in everything. They're in your sodas. High fructose corn syrup. You think that? What about that? Or the soy fillers that's in your cheese? You're not talking about that. So, do you really want to blame? I guarantee it. Kraft Singles, which is a soy-filled dairy product, sells more of their product than any vegan mock version of that. And basically what they're getting, what people are buying is half vegan product to begin with. And it's sprayed crap out of by Monsanto. You're right about that. It is. But if you actually look at labels of tofu, for instance, you'll usually see that they're part of the non-GMO commitment movement. It's on their labels. I can't vouch for every single tofu, but most of them are, and a lot of them are organic. And I don't know if they're subsidized either. But what I'm trying to say is this. So I just called you out on your fake news. I'm going to call you out on something else. You say you're so pro-capitalism, but you just said our food system's great. Not perfect, but good. It's amazing, according to you. Is it? Because it's one of the worst socialist policies we have. Basically, you support the destruction of small farmers. If I want to be a farmer and grow non-THC hemp, because I'm not going into the marijuana debate, but the legal hemp, if I want to grow onions, garlic, tomatoes, cabbage, and some Brussels sprouts, and that's what I want to focus my crops on, I'm not going to get any money from the government. I'm not going to get subsidies because those fruits and vegetables are not eligible for subsidies because there's no money. It's not enough money. It doesn't make them enough money. Vegans actually eat other things too, by the way, that aren't subsidized products. But you support crop subsidies and you support animal subsidies. Why do you think it costs about? You go to the store and it's like, okay, I live in New York, so it's probably a little pricier here, but broccoli is $2.99 a pound. Where ground beef will go on sale for $2.99 a pound. Ground chuck for $2.99 a pound. Or what about chicken quarters or chicken legs, chicken thighs? A lot of times they're 99 cents a pound. But they wouldn't be able to afford all this stuff if it wasn't subsidized. But that's why soy is so cheap. And corn is so cheap. That's why when you go into farmlands, you just see endless fields of corn. Because corn's the number one over soy. But soy is one of the main ingredients in livestock feed, as well as corn. But that's why you see endless amount of acres of corn. Do you think we're living off of corn? Technically, yeah. Corn and soy is in everything practically nowadays. Your vegetable oils, anything to make cheap oils, that's what it's used for, cooking oils. They're even using ethanol from corn. That's why that's one of the biggest crop. But it's like you're just not getting it, Ted. You're not getting it. You think that all this money and all this government involvement and all these lobbyists have to do with vegans? No, Ted. So maybe you personally don't participate in it as much as vegans do because you have the luxury of hunting on your 500 plus acre land and you don't have to work. You can just go out and shoot things when you feel like it and have it processed and for you, or maybe you do it yourself because not everybody knows how to do all that stuff. Not everybody learned. Not everybody has the ability to go out and do that. They just don't. So are you going to call vegan out because he lives in, New York City and his only source is like some corner store? Because he has to walk everywhere because he lives in New York City. Most people in New York City don't own cars or land at all. So that's kind of where I'm at, Ted. Like, you can't just deliver one little part, one tiny little fraction of a part and just say vegans kill more animals than anyone else. That's the biggest lie in the world. But you believe it, so I'm not going to say it's a lie. I take that back. You believe this is true, but it's fake news. You were tricked because of what you believe in.